Yo, what is up, guys? Today, we're gonna do another walkthrough. Is it even possible to hardcore Nuzlocke Pokemon Heartgold with ground types only and no evolutions? I guess we'll find out. I'm gonna have access to Geodude, Wooper, Sandshrew, Diglett, Larvitar or Cubone because they're both in the Safari Zone, then Phanpy or Rhyhorn. Gligar and Onix were actually in this game too, but at some point both of these Pokemon didn't evolve, so they were designed with higher stats. I will not be using either of them. I know I used Onix in my Rocklock of Diamond, but things change and you'll just have to get over it. Alright, let's jump in, guys. Geodude comes first, and you might be wondering how Geodude gets through Sprout Tower being clawed weak to all these Bellsprout's Vine Whips. The damage is actually pretty pathetic though. Geodude just has so much defense, so it's not that much of an issue. For Falkner, all I do is spam the Rock Throw button and that's it. After, I have my Wooper and my Sandshrew available to me, and it's kinda cool. At this point, all of my Pokemon have bold nature. Bugsy gets the same as Falkner. Just a bunch of rock throws straight at all of his bugs. First fight with Rival, pretty easy, even though he has a Crocodile. He's gonna start with Ghastly, and I'll start with Geodude. Ghastly will just mean look or curse, and I don't really care about either. I can kill it with a rock throw, and then Crocodile is gonna come in. It always goes for Water Gun versus Geodude. I can switch directly into Wooper, who will be immune to Water Gun with Water Absorb ability. Now Crocodile will always try to get Wooper to -6 speed with Scary Face. During this time, I can spam Mud Shot with Wooper. Once I'm at -6, Crocodile is going to start to attack with Bite or Rage. I don't want Wooper taking damage, so I'll just tank that with Geodude. When Geodude comes in, it's just going to bait another Water Gun from Crocodile, and I can switch right back into Water Absorb Wooper. When I come back in, my speed stat's going to be reset, and Crocodile is just going to try to do the same thing it did before. Get Wooper to -6 speed. I can just spam Mud Shot and eventually kill Crocodile. Zubat in the back just gets thrown in the trash can. For Whitney, I'm going to try to sweep her team with Sandshrew. I'm going to set up a substitute on Clefairy, and the only thing it can do to break the substitute is to get lucky with an effective move from Metronome, or it can get a 5-hit double slap. If Clefairy doesn't break the substitute in a given turn, I can use the next turn to use Swords Dance on it. Once I'm max attack, I'm going to finish off the Clefairy with Return, and I do really want a sub up for when Miltank comes out, just so I can tank at least one hit. And interestingly enough, Attract goes through Substitute. This part isn't even that bad anyway, because Sandshrew is still naturally pretty defensive, and even if I got Flinch or Attracted to the point where I was in crit range from Miltank's Stomp, I can always just go into Geodude, who will tank a lot of hits from Miltank and can definitely finish it off. But my boy Sandshrew finishes the job anyway. Second fight against Barry. I'm going to sweep a Sandshrew. Sandshrew is edged to the level cap and has max speed EVs, just so I can go first versus this Ghastly. This is required because Ghastly has Curse and Confuse Ray, and I need to set up a substitute before Ghastly moves to be immune to all those moves, since they could easily ruin this fight. Lick will break my sub, and I don't care if it uses Mean Luck. I can then safely set up to +6 attack on this Ghastly since I'm immune to everything, and Sandshrew also now has max attack EVs too, so it can ensure the kill with Shadow Claw on Ghastly and Return on the rest of Barry's team. Morty's gonna get swept by Sandshrew too. My Sandshrew just barely outspeeds this Ghastly, and I need it to for my strategy again. I'll set up a Substitute turn 1 since Substitute will make me immune to Ghastly's Curse. I don't care if it traps me in with Mean Look, I don't care if it decreases my BP with Spite, and Lick does irrelevant damage and never breaks Sandshrew sub, even after multiple hits. Once I'm at +6 attack, I can kill Ghastly with Shadow Claw, and Gengar always comes out next. The Substitute is gonna tank this deadly Shadow Ball, and I can KO Gengar with 1 Shadow Claw. This Haunter comes out next, and it's the sleepy one. Both Dream Eater and Nightmare require Sandshrew to be asleep, and I have a Lumberry, so Haunter will never be able to put me to sleep with Hypnosis. I also don't care if it uses Curse either, because I'll always have enough health to take Curse damage and kill the next Haunter anyway. The last Haunter can curse me if it wants, but this will be its last turn alive anyway, so I won't take damage from that. I don't care about Mean Look, neither Sucker Punch or Nightshade will do enough damage to kill Sandshrew, even if the previous Haunter used Curse. Okay, that's it for Morty. Whenever I play this game, Chuck is always consistently difficult for me and always gives me problems. Sandshrew, it's time to try and sweep again. I'm gonna sub up first turn, and Primeape likes to prioritize Double Team and Focus Punch. When Primeape uses Double Team, it's not too bad because it gives me a turn to set up a Swords Dance or another sub, but at the same time, it makes it harder to hit the Primeape in the end. If Primeape Focus Punches, I'll always need to set up another Substitute because it hits Sandshrew way too hard and I'll never live one at the health that I'm at. It will sometimes use Leer or Rock Slide, but not really that often. Leer is immune to Substitute and Rock Slide will never break Substitute, so those are free turns for Sandshrew to set up a Swords Dance. If Primeape decides to spam Focus Punches during these first few turns, you're pretty much screwed. You're just going to have to hope that he doesn't do that, because you're going to have to keep on setting up Substitutes. But I can get to +6 here, kill Primeape, then when Poliwrath comes out, my sub can tank the move that he uses, and a +6 return will be enough to kill Poliwrath and kill Chuck too. Chuck's a bit of a run wrecker, but it really won't be too bad. Diglett is available next, and I also have a decision to make. Both Cubone and Larvitar only appear in the Safari Zone, so I'll have to choose between either one of them. They're both really good encounters though. This is because if you give Cubone a thick club, its attack stat doubles. But on the other hand, Larvitar will always have the Guts ability, and I can pre-status it before battles to give it a 1.5 attack boost. Here's the tiebreaker though. Both Cubone and Larvitar have really bad speed, but since Cubone requires a thick club to be held, this just eliminates the possibility of me using a Choice Scarf on Cubone to compensate for the gross speed stat. Larvitar can be statused and have a high speed with the Choice Scarf at the same time in exchange for not as much attack, which I don't mind too much. So I chose Larvitar here. Let's see how good of a decision that was. Price is going to be a guaranteed W. I'm going to use Wooper to PP stall this Seal. The Seal has Icy Wind and Snore, and both of those do literally nothing to max HP, max special defense Wooper. On top of that, I can set up special defense boost with Wooper's Amnesia to completely wall the Seal. I can also stay healthy with Wooper with Rest. And over time, Seal is eventually going to run out of all of its moves. Now I can go into Sandshrew because Sandshrew is completely safe from a PP stalled Seal. Then all I have to do is set up 3 Swords Dances to get to +6 attack, and that will let me outspeed and sweep the rest of the team. Sandshrew is edged toward the level cap just to guarantee the kill on Piloswine in the back. Sandshrew is going to sweep Jasmine for me too. It's immune to Thunderbolt and Thunder Wave from Magnemite, and I'm going to keep a substitute up versus Magnemite to be immune to the Supersonic that it loves to go for. Now, I can easily get to +6 attack with Swords Dance, and I'll sweep the rest of Jasmine's team with Sandshrew. Petrol in the radio tower actually required a bit of thought this time. I'm going to lead with max attack, max speed Larvitar. It's also pre-burn to give it that guts boost, and that's also going to double the power of its facade. I'll substitute up first turn, and this substitute is only for the wheezing that comes after. The coughing's never going to use explosion at full HP, and it can't break my sub with its other attacks. I'm going to finish it right after with facade. You'll also notice the shell bell that Larvitar has. This shell bell is actually going to enable Larvitar to survive through the entire fight, even through substitute recoil and burn damage. My facade is a 2-hit KO on the wheezing, and that's why I need the substitute. It's going to ensure Larvitar doesn't take any damage from wheezing or get its accuracy lowered by smokescreen. After that though, I can just finish all the rest of the coughings with burnt facades, and the shell bell is going to keep me alive. And now I found myself battling Barry in the basement again. I'm going to lead with Larvitar, who's still burnt for guts and facade boost. I'm also choice scorfed here, so I can outspeed and kill both the Golbat and the Sneasel. Then Feraligatr comes in. Facade isn't actually a guaranteed kill, so I'm going to go into Lumberry Wooper. Feraligatr loves to go for Water Gun, usually, but sometimes it will go for Ice Fang, and I don't want that freezing my Wooper, so that's why I had the Lumberry. My Wooper is going to use Yawn here, and then Protect on the next turn to ensure it falls asleep. And Bulbapedia says that sleep should last for at least 2 turns in Gen 4, and through testing, 95% of the time it does. So at this point during the playthrough, I was actually under the impression that sleep was guaranteed to go for 2 turns, and that's why I used this strategy. But it's actually not guaranteed. Bulbapedia just has their information wrong. So I was already way too far in when I realized this, but I'd have to redo the strategy for Barry in the future for this kind of run. Anyway, under this impression, I went back into Larvitar and I locked myself into Crunch, which is a 2-hit KO on Feraligatr. I'm gonna lock myself into Crunch just because the Haunter will come out next, and I can kill that too. Lastly is Magnemite, and I can go into any of my ground types I want and finish it off with a quad effective ground move. Executive Proton gets swept by Guts boosted Silph Scarf Facades from Larvitar, and if you're faster than Ariana's Arbok, it's gonna go for Glare forever until you're paralyzed. That means you can set up a substitute on Sandshrew, be immune to Glare, and then you can get to +6 attack with Swords Dance and sweep her team. Executive Archer gets swept by Guts boosted Facades too. Larvitar is holding a Choice Scarf to outspeed the Houndoom in the back. I forgot to mention that Swinub's actually available too in this game, but Swinub's a useless piece of trash that doesn't deserve to be on my team. Phanpy is also available before we take on Claire. I'm gonna try to cripple this Gyarados and then set up on it with Sandshrew. I'll lead with Wooper, who's max HP and max special defense still. This is gonna always bait a Dragon Rage from Gyarados, and it will use that until it has none left. I'm just gonna protect and rest with Wooper, and don't worry about little Googie, he'll always be safe here. Once Gyarados has no more Dragon Rages left, I'm gonna go into Phanpy, who also has max special defense and max HP. Phanpy has solid natural defense too, so it easily tanks anything Gyarados has now that there's no more Dragon Rage. I can use Charm to decimate Gyarados' attack and Captivate to decimate its special attack. Gyarados will just randomly use any of its moves versus Phanpy. However, I only want Dragon Pulses gone from Gyarados since that's the only move that actually puts Sandshrew in danger. I'll stay healthy with Rest on Phanpy, and I'll use Protect to waste more Dragon Pulses. Once it's all out of Dragon Pulse, I can go into Sandshrew and set up a substitute plus 3 Swords Dances for plus 6 attack. Before I finish the Gyarados though, I need to make sure my Sandshrew substitute is fresh since Gyarados outspeeds Sandshrew and I don't want it to break my sub before I start the sweep. From here, it's over for Claire. Kingdra will go first, but I'm gonna have my substitute up to tank the hit from it. Sandshrew is also edged to the level cap in order to reach level 42. That's gonna give it just enough speed to outspeed and kill the Dragonairs in the back too. There's a Kimono Gauntlet next, all back to back with no party editing or healing. I'm gonna choose to have Guts boosted Choice Scarfed Larvitar in the lead for the entire time. For Umbreon, I'm gonna switch into Wooper since Larvitar isn't guaranteed to kill it with one hit. Wooper has a Lum Berry to cure the potential Confuse Ray. I'll just yawn the Umbreon, protect the next turn, then I can switch back to Larvitar, and I still thought that Sleep was guaranteed to last for 2 turns at this point, so just ignore that. I'm gonna go back into Larvitar and kill Umbreon with 2 Facades. Espeon next will die to 1 Guts boosted Crunch. Flareon dies to a Guts boosted Earthquake, and this Jolteon has 2 electric moves that don't affect my ground types. Last Resort requires that all of Jolteon's other moves all be used before it can select it and double team. The AI doesn't go for attacks that you're immune to, so this Jolteon is stuck using double team for eternity. I'll let Diglett take the kill here. Last is Vaporeon, but you can see how awesome Larvitar is because it takes it out with 1 Guts boosted Earthquake. Rhyhorn's actually pretty good, but I didn't really need it for the Elite Four plan, so not on the team. This is gonna be the squad before we go into the Elite Four. I love all my ground types, and to be honest, most of these Pokemon were actually really good compared to the Pokemon I've done in these mono challenges in the past. Okay, alright, let's get into it then. Elite Four Will is gonna be pretty tough. I'll start with Larvitar, and its Choice Scarf, it can outspeed and kill the Xatu with a Guts boosted Crunch. Now Slowbro comes in, and I'm gonna do some messing around with it. It almost always goes for Water Pulse on Larvitar, so I have a nice safe switch in to my Wooper with Water Absorb. Since Wooper is max special defense and max HP, Slowbro isn't gonna see a kill on Wooper with any of its moves. It's gonna strongly prefer to start setting up with Curse and Amnesia instead. The first goal here is to stall out Slowbro's Psychics. Slowbro has 10 of them, and setting up special defense boosts with Amnesia on Wooper help me to tank them. Wooper can only just barely survive 1 crit Psychic guaranteed. That means to maximize my chances in this part of the battle, I'll always try to keep Slowbro asleep with Yawn as often as possible and keep Wooper at full health as often as possible. For example, at this point, Slowbro is all set up with every stat boost from Curse and Amnesia, so it's not going to go for either of those moves anymore. I'm going to Yawn on the last Curse, get hit by Psychic next turn, and even 1 non-crit Psychic will take Wooper into crit range. So I'll rest up the chip damage next turn to guarantee live a crit Psychic again. Now, I get to sleep while Slowbro sleeps too, keeping Wooper as safe as I possibly can. I'm gonna repeat this same process over and over again until Slowbro has no more psychics. Okay, Slowbro has no more psychics left here. I want to force it to use water pulses now, but it already saw earlier that water pulse is immune to Wooper because of water absorb, so it's not going to go for it. It's actually going to prioritize its stat changing moves, Curse and Amnesia, over water pulse, even though it already has max stats. So, to force Slowbro to use water pulses, I'm going to use Phanpy. I'm going to switch into it, and Slowbro will never use Water Pulse on switch in because it already saw that Wooper was immune to it. After I get Phanpy in, I'm going to Protect. This is going to waste another Water Pulse. Then, I'll switch back into Wooper. This is going to waste another Water Pulse. And Slowbro is going to see that Wooper is immune to Water Pulse again. That means I can go right back into Phanpy, Protect the next turn, and do the same thing over and over again until Slowbro has no more water pulses left. Alright, here we are. Slowbro has no more water pulse, and I want to finish off the Slowbro with Larvitar, but right now, because of Curse, it has +6 defense, and Larvitar would die from burn trying to spam Facade until it's dead. To combat this, I'm gonna go back into Wooper one last time and use Haze. Haze is a move that resets stat changes, and I'm gonna bring Slowbro's defense back to normal, and it doesn't have any more curses left here. It only has Amnesia, so it can't set up any more defense boosts. This will allow me to get a perfectly safe switch in into Larvitar, and I can kill the Slowbro with 2 Guts Boost Crunch, finally. The Jinx after gets outsped because of the Choice Scarf, and I can kill it too. Executor is here, and my Crunch isn't actually guaranteed to kill. I'm gonna go into Focus Sash Diglett. Diglett will take a Psychic from Executor, hang on with the Sash, then I'm gonna hit it next turn with Shadow Claw. I'm gonna let my Diglett die here, and now I can bring a Larvitar back in, and it's in range of Larvitar's Guts boosted Crunch. Then Xatu will come out after and die to Crunch too. Koga is pretty simple. My Scarfed Larvitar can kill both Ariados and the Venomoth with Guts boosted Earthquakes. This Fortress that comes in next has Explosion, but it doesn't go for it if it has full health. It just go for Protects and Toxic Spikes all the time here. It'll die to 2 Earthquakes. Alright, Crobat is in. Crobat will always try to set up +6 evasion with Double Team before it starts attacking. I'll switch into Phanpy. Phanpy is going to use Odor Sleuth, and Odor Sleuth is a pretty cool move. It's always going to bypass accuracy checks the first time and always hit the Crobat. And also, Odor Sleuth is going to make sure any of my Pokemon on my team can switch in and always hit Crobat no matter how much evasion it sets up. This entire time Crobat's setting up double teams on Phanpy, I'm just going to use Charm to get its attack to -6 and maximize my Geodude's chance to beat it, even though I really didn't need to since Geodude completely walls Crobat. I can 1v1 the Crobat with Geodude, set up a rollout, and this rollout sweep is going to bypass Crobat's accuracy checks and roll out right into the muck that comes after, so I can beat Koga. Bruno is going to be real simple, mostly because his Hitmontop is super dumb and it only goes for counter and dig out of its 4 possible moves for whatever reason. Since I always know when dig is coming, I can always block it with Protect too, and counter's not going to do anything unless I touch the Hitmontop. That gives Sandshrew as many turns as it wants to set up one substitute and 3 sword stances for max attack. When I'm set up, I'll kill the Hitmontop with 1 Earthquake and Hitmonchan comes out. I don't outspeed Hitmonchan with Sandshrew, so my substitute is going to take the damage from Ice Punch and I can kill it with an Earthquake. Hitmonlee comes in next and it outspeeds and I don't have my sub up anymore. However though, through testing, I found that this Hitmontop nearly always just sets up with Focus Energy or tries to swagger you the first turn it's out versus Sandshrew. It won't go for Blaze Kick, and it has a really small chance to go for the high jump kick. A non-crit high jump kick doesn't actually kill Sandshrew from this range, so if it happens, I can potentially take one of them. Sandshrew also has the Lumberry for the confusion from Swagger, so I don't care about that. I can kill Hitmonlee with an Earthquake, and I can also kill the Machamp after. So this Onix outspeeds me, so if I was hit by the high jump kick earlier, I'd be kind of low, and I'd have to face Onix with a different Pokemon, but that's not too big of a deal because it would be easy anyway. Okay, goodbye Bruno. Karen's gonna start with Umbreon, and I'll start with Fanapy. It loves to set up a bunch of double teams before attacking me, and it also does use Confuse Ray sometimes, which Fanapy has the Lumberry for. First I'll Odor Sleuth it to nullify any of the evasion boosts that it has so my whole team can hit it. Then I'm gonna get it to -6 attack with Fanapy's Charm and go into Wooper right after. Wooper's got the Lum for the Confuse Ray too, and all I want to do is put it to sleep. I can use Yawn and Protect right after. This way, I have one safe turn to get my Sandshrew in without getting it confused and wasting its Lumberry. Next turn, I'll sub up, and now I'm immune to Confuse Ray. I can set up to +6 attack since Umbreon is not doing anything to Sandshrew right now. Then, once I'm maxed out, I can kill both Umbreon and the Vileplume that comes after with Earthquake. And Gengar is here. And I'm not actually gonna kill it just yet, and you'll see why. So Gengar's only main attacking move here is clearly just Focus Blast. It doesn't go for Lick because it's pathetic damage. I want to get rid of all 5 Focus Blasts, so first turn when Gengar's out, I'm going to substitute up one more time with Sandshrew. So my sub can take the Focus Blast damage, and I'll waste another one out of Gengar. Some will miss, some won't, doesn't matter. I'm only going to sub up until Sandshrew is half health. I do want to preserve my health so I can set up more substitutes if I need to. I'll just tank the rest of the Focus Blast that Gengar has with my special defense Fanapy. I can use Rest and Protect on Fanapy until they're all gone. Now, when Gengar runs out of Focus Blast, it likes to spam Spite pretty much all the time. Very occasionally, it'll go for a Lick. I need to be really careful here though, because when Gengar is out of its 10 Spites, Destiny Bond is fair game. In fact, through testing, every single time Gengar ran out of Spites, it went for Destiny Bond the next turn. And Destiny Bond is going to take me down with it if I kill it. I can't have that happen. It's kind of easy to avoid it though, because after the Focus Blasts are gone, I still have enough turns to go back into Sandshrew though, who still has the Lumberry, just in case Gengar uses Lick on the switch in and gets the paralysis on Sandshrew. I cannot allow that. I'll set up a substitute again, and I'll get to max attack with Sword Stance, very safely here. I've more than enough turns even if Gengar is spamming Spite. Now, I'm going to kill Gengar with Shadow Claw. And why did I do all that when I could have just killed Gengar before? I did it because I want an intact substitute on Sandshrew. I couldn't have risked that before if it still had Focus Blast. Because now, when Houndoom comes in, it can outspeed and kill Sandshrew. But now I have the sub, and I can kill the Houndoom with an Earthquake after getting hit. Now Murkrow comes in last. I can 1v1 Murkrow with Geodude super easily and move on to the champion. Okay, it's champion time, guys, and like usual, this Gyarados is always vulnerable to PP Stall, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with Wooper, and to be honest, Wooper could PP Stall this Gyarados all on its own if I really needed to. Wooper can tank everything Gyarados has pretty well because of the special defense and HP investment. Because Wooper can tank so much, I get plenty of opportunities to use Flash with Wooper, and that's going to lower the Gyarados' accuracy. I'm going to try and get it all the way down to -6. I can just switch around with Rest, Protect, and Yawn to keep Wooper alive and safe this entire time. I do occasionally go into Phanpy to use Charm, decimate its attack a little bit, use Protect to further PP Stall the Gyarados. I do leave Phanpy in all the time and risk it to a crit sometimes, but I don't actually care because I don't need Phanpy, I don't need Sandshrew, and I don't need Larvitar for this battle. That's only because I have Geodude who's going to sweep the whole team at the end, and both Larvitar and my Sandshrew have Focus Sashes, so I can bring him in potentially, let him take a hit if Gyarados manages to hit through its -6 accuracy, and I can protect turns after to waste even more of Gyarados' PP. Once Gyarados has Flails left, I think it's time to just go into Geodude, and I don't care if it starts to struggle either. Okay, Geodude's in, and what I'm gonna do, I'm going to get to +6 speed with Rock Polish, and that's going to allow me to outspeed Lance's entire team right now. I'm going to set up a substitute too, and I'm going to Defense Curl one time before I start the rollout sweep. Defense Curl is going to double rollout's damage. I'm also going to wait until Gyarados breaks my sub and gets down to low health. This way, Geodude will have a fresh substitute up, and I have the maximum amount of turns for Geodude to use rollout, since I only have to use one rollout on a low health Gyarados. Once Gyarados is gone, the Dragonite comes out next, and my substitute is going to tank the Blizzard since rollout isn't actually a one-hit KO at this point. I can kill Dragonite next turn, and both of the other Dragonites fall right after. It's a super powered rollout. My rollout is gonna end though when Charizard comes in, but it doesn't matter because Defense Curl's effect on rollout will last the entire battle, no matter if you already went through a rollout cycle or not. Plus, rollout is still at 60 base power because of that, and it's quite effective on Charizard, so it still kills it. The rollout is going to roll right through the last Charizard and the Aerodactyl, and now I am the champion. By the way, I'd like to say thank you to the wide lens for making me hit all those rollouts. Alright, that was the ground lock right there. That's how you can do it if you want, and I do think this one is actually possible. These ground types, like, overall, had really good stats, other than Wooper, but Wooper's Water Absorb was vital to this entire run. Like, I don't think I could have done it without the Water Absorb Wooper. Alright, so if you're insane enough, give it a shot, because it's really not that bad out of all the Mono Lock, Little Lock combinations that are really tough. And I didn't even use Gligar or Onyx. Well, we're all just a bunch of atoms that know that we're atoms, I guess, so might as well waste my life playing Pokemon. So don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment and ring the bell. I'll see you next time.